Why a potential Case Keenum revenge game could be in the making in Buffalo, and where the Vikings landed ESPN's latest power rankings. It's all coming up next on Superior Sports Talk.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now it's Superior Sports Talk with KARE 11 sports anchor Reggie Wilson and Luke Inman. It's 30 minutes every day, and it's all the Minnesota sports you need. It's Superior Sports Talk, and it starts now.
Back in the lab, Reggie and Luke back at it. Another episode, Superior Sports Talk, presented by Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's your daily 30-minute breakdown of everything Minnesota sports, which you can now find streaming on your Roku or Amazon Fire Stick devices. Just look out for our Locked On Sports Minnesota app there as well. That's the man, Reggie Wilson, back from D.C. Check him out on Twitter, at Reggie Wilson TV, and on KARE 11. You were in D.C. for the game. What was the vibe like? Kirk comeback game? I saw a lot of purple in the stands on TV.
Yeah, the vibe was nice, man. Like, those DC fans are rowdy. I know we talk a lot about like the Philly fans and those guys, but those DC fans, man, they bring it, man. It's tough because they really haven't had a whole lot to root for, in the last few decades, really, of Washington. First it was the other name, the football team, now the Commanders. And they got a little cocky on Sunday and bit them in the butt.
Yeah, I think the last time they've been excited was with a Kirk Cousins-led team. He brought them to one playoff game anyways. Kirk, by the way, just breaking the internet right now. So lots to get into. Lots to get into. But first, remember, follow along, Locked On Minnesota YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment. And on Twitter, give us a follow. It's at Locked On MIN. Remember, we're a podcast too. Free and available, all platforms, Spotify, Apple, you name it. We got it. Tons of great choices over there, too. You got the Ron Johnson Show. You got the Football Party and more. Your one-stop shop with endless Vikings talk with local experts. Do us a favor. Hit the subscribe button and drop us a 5-star review. All right, to football we go. Reg, Sam and I, we tried to break it all down yesterday. We'll kind of pick up where we left off. Vikings 20, Commanders 17. Minnesota comes back from down 10 in the fourth quarter to win its sixth consecutive one-score game. Vikings are 7-1. 4 fourth quarter come from behind wins this season for your Minnesota Vikings, second best team record-wise in the NFL. Ron Johnson likes to say, I told you so, like he called all this. But nobody saw this coming, Reg. Like, they've got 7 in the dub column, but only one of those wins was convincing. The rest, kind of cardiac killers, down to the wire, stressors. But what's your takeaway on the Vikings 2022 team, just in general, as a whole, now that we're at the halfway mark?
They are what their record says. They are 7-1, 6 straight wins. They continue to come from behind, and they continue to get these breaks. Like, there were times during that game on Sunday where they just looked lifeless. They looked dead to the waters. Like, give it up. The streak was coming to an end. And all of a sudden, the fourth quarter happened, and they just turned it on. And so at some point, you just think, you're like, look, they're not going to continue to be able to play with fire like that and not get burned. But as of right now, we have not had to bring out the extinguishers because they continue to win. After the game, Justin Jefferson was doing his video for the Vikings, and he was like, it's a tough dub. And it's like, they all are for one reason or another. And it's so interesting because at times during this win streak, the offense has just gone away. Sunday was not necessarily just like, the plays weren't working. Sunday was just like an execution problem. There were drops. There were just uncharacteristic things. Kevin O'Connell was drawing up plays that was working, but they didn't work because the Vikings didn't execute them well enough. And that was what was probably the most frustrating if you're a Vikings fan watching on Sunday, because they had chances to really go up and put this game away. The defense was balling. I think the defense is coming into his own, getting sacks, they had drive after drive after drive where they were shutting Heineke and that Commanders offense down. But only so many times can you do that without your own offense not producing. And so I think you are just waiting to see them put together a complete performance. Every week, it's the same thing. We're like, why do you guys keep playing these teams so close? And everybody's like, man, we wish in some of these games we would just be able to put them away sooner. But, at least we're getting the dub. And it's like, how many times can that happen before you're just like, I don't know, because you look at the schedule, and especially these next two, you think about Buffalo, you think about Dallas, and you're like, well, I don't know if they're going to get that luxury. Then you hear about Allen possibly having an elbow injury, and you're like, get out of here. For real?
Stop.
Is that how this season is gonna go? So I wonder how long they can keep things like this up, because there are several opponents on the schedule where you're looking and you're like, man, I don't know that they could play a game like this. Like, you look at the schedule. Like I said, the next two, you play against the Patriots
New
on
England.
Thanksgiving. You play against the Colts. You play against
Jets.
The Jets, the Giants. Maybe you can play those type of games like that with them. You play against Chicago, against Detroit, maybe Green Bay. But there are some opponents coming up, especially, that things could get out of hand quickly if they don't come with it early and often. And they always start well. Like that first scripted drive, like KOC is money. When they're in the red zone, KOC is money. It's after that, or it's getting to that red zone that sometimes leaves a little bit to be desired. But right now, they are who they say they are, and they're 7-1, and you can't really complain too much about that.
Yeah, there are certain ebbs and flows that you just can't see in the box score or on paper. But when you're there and watching it, there's just ebbs and flows throughout every NFL game. And it certainly seems like when they're on, they are on fire. But when they're in that little lull, man, and sometimes it goes on for a quarter, 2 quarters, sometimes even longer, they seem to really struggle. I think that's when you hear Kevin O'Connell in the locker room during the week talking to the media, trying to figure things out. I got to get better too. I feel like when I hear him say that, that's what he's talking about, stopping those lulls, because they're inevitable. They're going to happen to every team, but just limiting them to a shorter time frame, I think, is the big thing. Luck was thrown out a ton for the first couple wins and weeks for the Vikings, whether it's fans or the media, national media, you name it. I just don't think you can call it luck anymore at this point, right? Because in the NFL, luck runs out in those final 2 minutes of the games and the halves. Your luck runs out after maybe a game or two. You don't collect this many dubs like this just purely off luck. Vikes are doing something right more times than not. And more times than not, it's led by the quarterback. It'd be one thing if it was a fluky special teams play or a pick six or a scoop and score. It's the quarterback more times than not, which tells me he is the catalyst when the game's on the line. Vikes now 5.5 game lead in the NFC North. That's the largest in the league, something that helped big Kirk Sunday. And a guy I honestly don't know if they win this game without him was TJ Hockenson. Sam and I kind of broke him down a little bit yesterday. You were there. I want to get your take on him. Rolls into Egan Tuesday night. By Sunday, he's putting up 9 catches on 9 targets, 5 of them first downs, played 91% of the snaps, which blew my mind. If that's what he looks like after 5 days, I can't wait to see him after 5 weeks. This offense can be a top Reg, in the NFL when TJ Hockenson is fully acclimated into the system and playbook?
Top 5. And real quick, is there anybody in the league that looks more like he belongs on a team than TJ Hockenson does for the Vikings? He literally looks like the Vikings logo. He literally looks like the Vikings logo.
If Hollywood was making a movie out of the Vikings, they wouldn't even need a casting call. They would just, this is our guy. This is the main guy. This is the lead actor right here.
He looks like a Minnesota Viking. Like he's got the whole like Norse thing going. Like he just, it fits. It just fits. And here's the thing. We know that Kirk Cousins likes throwing to his tight ends. So much so that, earlier this season, he's throwing to Johnny Munt, Ben Ellefson, picking up first downs like that. He loves that, Tyler Conklin's not here anymore. You know, Irv went out. What I saw on Sunday was a guy who can bail this offense out. You know, things aren't going well. Look, it's hard to defend everybody that they're throwing out there. You may have a guy on Jefferson or two, on Jefferson, on Thielen, on Osborne, but then all of a sudden you got Hockenson coming out, you know, flanked or, you know, running up the seam, and you got a linebacker or a safety trying to cover him one-on-one. That's barbecue chicken all day. And I think that was something that I saw on Sunday. Whenever this offense maybe gets in a bind, maybe gets in a rut, moving forward, I think that they can call upon Hockenson to get them a first down when they need it, or get them a big play when they need it. First catch of the game was for 19 yards, and it just kind of sucked the life out of the FedEx Field crowd. And when you have a guy who can do that, that is scary, because they have so many weapons. And it seems like every week there's somebody different, you know, whether it's KJ, whether it's Kirk himself. On Sunday, it was Dalvin Cook. Incredible one-hand touchdown for him in the back of the end zone. But then now, you know, as good of a play caller as KOC is in the red zone, and now you add Hockenson to the mix, and now you're looking at like, oh man, not only do we have to defend Jefferson, oh, not only do we have to defend Thielen, oh, not only do we have to defend KJ Osborne, oh man, we even got to defend Dalvin out of the backfield. He might jump out on a wheel route and catch one on us. Oh yeah, now we got to account for TJ Hockenson too. Like, it's just so many weapons. And you look back at like the Rams offense when it was humming. And, you know, especially last year when they won the Super Bowl, you know, any given day, you know, you had to stop Cup, you had to stop OBJ, Van Jefferson, Higbee. Like, this is of that same ilk. And it's scary hours right now. I think TJ Hockenson was a great addition to this team. And he's already showing that he's going to pay dividends in this offense.
They call him a security blanket for a reason, right? For quarterbacks,
Mm-hmm.
they need one. You need a good one. Cousins hasn't had a great security blanket since Kyle Rudolph. And now all of a sudden you bring in what feels like Kyle Rudolph 2.0, just a younger, more athletic Kyle Rudolph, and certainly paid huge dividends in his first game. Kwesi, by the way, looking like a genius right now. What a bold move that takes in the middle of the season to be like, well, this isn't how we plan things, but here we are, and we see an opportunity in a wide open NFC, and we're 6-1. We got to make a move, man. If he's available, let's go get him, especially inside the division. This is a legitimate top 5 offense in the league right now. I'm with you. I really do. That's how complete of a unit, top to bottom, just like you just explained. It's just a matter of executing for 4 quarters like we talked about previously, and finding a way to get, I think, more consistency in the run game. Easy to say after that Washington game, but granted too, and you were there, Washington's defensive line, and we don't have time to get into it today, but they were tremendous, man. Jonathan Allen was an absolute beast. And as Sam mentioned yesterday, they got Chase Young coming back here in the next few weeks. So sometimes you just got to give credit where credit's due. Reg, you're a big Cam Bynum guy. He was one of my bold predictions. I thought he was going to ball out this year. He's been pretty solid. I've seen him on Twitter actually quote tweeting you. So you guys must be tight, okay? You were there live when the ref took him out in that bizarre cue the circus music kind of play. What was your initial thoughts on how that went down? Because if we lose the game, that's all anyone's talking about all week.
You know what's interesting is I know the refs have to be out there to patrol the field and make sure that, you know, all is well. But there has to be something that can be done when a ref accidentally interferes with the play, because that just didn't seem fair. There was 3 guys down there. Heineke just threw up a prayer. That was a YOLO throw. That he's like, Curtis Samuel's down there somewhere. And like Cam Bynum was going to be in great position to pick that off. That was going to be a nice interception for him. Nice stat.
Why
At the
did
very
he
least,
make that
knockdown.
throw? 3 Vikings back there. I just can't even believe it.
At the very least, it was a knockdown. I think he was trying to do something to make a spark. That offense really wasn't doing much. And he was like, look, we're just going to be aggressive. I'm just going to throw it up, throw it out there. Curtis Samuel's down there somewhere. And Cam Bynum was going to, at the very least, have a knockdown there. He was playing the ball, clearly wasn't even looking at the ref. There has to be something that can be done. I don't know if you redo the play. I don't know that the play is dead right there. Like, I just don't know. I don't know. Because at some point with these type of plays, like we've kind of seen a few this season where the ref has just kind of been in the way. And it's like, if you blow the play dead right there, then now that makes the offense at a disadvantage. Now they're upset. If you redo the play, then, maybe both teams are upset at that, because now it's just like, well, we wouldn't have had to redo the play if the ref would have just known to get the heck out of the way. I really don't know what to say about that. But like in the moment, if you're a Vikings fan, you are hot. You are heated. You are hot. Because like that was a potential game-changing play.
Absolutely.
For this Commanders team. Injected some life into there, because you look at it, if he picks that ball off, momentum swings quickly, because you just started the half. Some fans are still coming back with their hot dogs, from halftime, trying to get back to their seats, and all of a sudden, you're dropping your hot dog on the ground because you're cheering for the touchdown. You could have been dropping your hot dog on the ground. Yeah, you could have been dropping your $12, wasting your $12 the other way, being upset for an interception. And, who knows, like, that could have been a potential, like, 14-point swing or something like that, because maybe KOC draws something up and takes them all the way down the field and they score a touchdown, and now this is a different ball game. Yeah, I don't know how. I don't really know what the solution to that is. I don't know either what to say about that. But the press box was just kind of like, we were all just like, did that really just that GIF with Doc Rivers where he's just like,
my favorite.
That's how everyone pretty much was.
You heard Cam Bynum after the game was like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was furious right away, but ref came over right away. He apologized, accepted the apology. I put it in my back pocket, and we moved on.
Do?
Like, what are you going to do, man? But also, what are you going to do if you let that mentally affect the rest of your game? Like, you got to let it go. Yeah. You got a whole second half to play. And you're right, that Vikings defense. Definitely, mental toughness. That Vikings defense certainly stepped up big in that second half. Where does KOC land in the Coach of the Year category? I know Brian Daboll, he's near the top. Miami's Mike Daniels is near the top. But, I mean, KOC already beat Miami and Mike Daniels, granted, for some backup quarterback. They're going to play Brian Daboll and the Giants here soon. I guess Nick Sirianni and the Eagles has to be in the discussion, I would think, just because they're undefeated. But as it sits now, I mean, where does he fit in the mix? Does he have a good chance? When you look at the rest of the schedule, which does get tough, as we previously mentioned, do you think he's got a shot to actually win this thing?
Yeah, if I'm going right now, I'm putting him right behind Sirianni for Coach of the Year. That team is doing a little bit more than, Buffalo or Kansas City or the Giants or even the Jets. Like, you got to throw Robert Saleh in there as well. They just beat the Buffalo Bills. Like, he's doing a heck of a job with a quarterback that's not necessarily all that great this year. And so you look at the scope of these teams and you got to give it to them, but you look at Mike McDaniel down in Miami and, like, look, he's fighting just to even, get like, that is a 3-team race right there between the Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins.
That's
the Dolphins
wild.
have to keep winning to try to get into the playoffs, then you got the Patriots still kind of, creeping as well. Like, that's going to be tough. But when you look at it, what do you say, 5.5 game lead in the division? Like, KOC is coaching his bleepity bleep off. And I think you have to put him right there behind Sirianni. Sirianni's the only coach that he's lost to this year. And so you look at what the Eagles are doing, and it's incredible. I don't anticipate them going undefeated all this season, but we'll see what happens. But if they, like, fall off or there's a lull or whatever happens, I think KOC is right there in his first year doing the daggone thing in Minnesota.
He's not going to win it, but you know who I would throw a vote for? This guy traded away his Hall of Fame quarterback. Everybody left this team for dead. Alls they've done with the backup Geno Smith is dominate 6-3, top of the NFC West, crush the best draft class out of all 32 teams. And now next year, by the way, they got 4 top 60 picks as well.
Wow.
Pete Carroll, I know he's not going to win it,
Yeah.
but Pete Carroll has done just a phenomenal job.
Heck
That's
of a
probably
job.
the biggest surprise of the NFL entirely is what happened between the Seahawks and the Broncos for both good and bad. Vikings now 14-1 to win the Super Bowl after that 7-1 start. Vikings open the week 9-point underdogs on the road, outdoors, taking on Josh Allen. We'll get to that in a second. And the Buffalo Bills over-under currently sitting at 47.5. Make sure to keep tabs all season long and check those odds out and more with BetOnline. BetOnline.net, fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and game stats, news, info. You want it, they got it. NFL, NBA, even MMA and UFC. BetOnline makes betting easy and is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Go to BetOnline.net today to learn more. That's BetOnline.net, where the game starts. And remember, when you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota, you're getting endless Vikings talk with local experts. Sam and Ron talk football every day in the Ron Johnson Show. Reggie Wilson gives you a sports anchor's perspective right here on Superior Sports Talk. And the Minnesota Football Party brings together the top Vikings podcasters in the city. Subscribe to the free Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feed wherever you find your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review or find our videos on the Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. You can also find us now streaming on your Roku or Amazon Fire Stick devices. Just download our Locked On Sports Minnesota app and enjoy all our content and daily shows for free at your fingertips any day, anytime. All right, back to the Vikings here real quick, just to round up. We decided it's not luck anymore at this point, right? I mean, you win that many games, it can't be just pure luck. But they are playing with some sort of magic now, because this week, the game everyone circled at the beginning of the year, that road trip to Buffalo, huge underdogs. Now, all of a sudden, sounds like Bills could be without their superstar quarterback, Josh Allen, who it sounds like could be looking at possible Tommy John surgery after getting hit versus the Jets Sunday, which then would lead to, of course, a Case Keenum revenge game. Huge win from the likely 9-point underdogs to possible favorites on the road in Buffalo. Just can't make it up. There's just something weird going on with this Viking season. Any latest at all, Reggie, from Josh Allen in that injury? And if they were to face their former quarterback, should the Vikings be favorite despite being on the road, still against a really good Buffalo team?
Yeah, Case Keenum to Stephon Diggs recapturing that
Oh my gosh.
Minneapolis Miracle Magic, I don't know. This is interesting. And I've been checking in with my friends in Buffalo. They're just kind of not sitting on their hands. They're just kind of figuring out what's going on, just like everybody else, waiting on pins and needles to see what's going on with Josh Allen. I don't know. Maybe it's a medical mystery or maybe it's just adrenaline, but that injury happened. And on that last throw of his game on Sunday, he threw one freaking arm cannon like 70 yards through the air, fell incomplete,
on a rope.
Just a ridiculous throw. And after the game, he was like, I'm in a little bit of pain, but I'll be all right. And it's just like, well, is it sprained? Is it, I don't know. That was a nasty, it bent back kind of nasty on that hit. And so I don't know what to think about that. But how about it, man? I think if you're a Vikings fan, you do want to see them play Josh Allen at their best, because you want to see
agree.
okay, toe-to-toe against a team with their, complete best. I think that was why the Philly game was such a disappointment, because you're like, man, I know the Vikings can match up a little bit better with Philly, but Philly just did whatever they wanted to do. I think this was the next big litmus test, okay, against the team that, people have as Super Bowl favorites, whatever. This would be the game to see okay, where do the Vikings match up? Where do they stack up? You're talking Super Bowl and all this stuff. What's up? Here we go. That being said, even without Josh Allen, this team is still scary. You insert Case Keenum, maybe the offense isn't as explosive, but he's still got Diggs, Davis, Knox. They added Naheem Hines. That's still a scary offense in my opinion. And the defense, that didn't change. They still got Tre'Davious White. You still got Von
Draymond
Miller.
Edmonds,
I'm scared of
stud.
him.
Yep.
Yeah, and Matt Milano if he plays. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm still looking at that Buffalo team and like, okay, maybe the quarterback changes, how much the Vikings are, favored by or favored, to lose by, but that's still a tough team in my opinion, and that's still not going to be an easy game for them.
Just looking at some connections here. You got Case Keenum, possible revenge game. Stephon Diggs, revenge game factor going on. James Cook playing his brother, Dalvin Cook. That's going to be fun. Harrison Phillips goes back home to Buffalo, the defensive tackle. So a lot of games within the game, a lot of good storylines this week. All right, weekly tradition on the show. ESPN's latest power rankings released this AM. Vikings now the fourth best team, moving up one spot behind who else? Eagles, Chiefs, Bills. So you've got what feels like, according to these rankings, should be the game of the week with number 3 versus number 4 this Sunday. Cowboys on the bye. They drop down to number 5. Cowboys the 5th best team in the NFL, huh? Kind of surprised me a little bit. More than anything else, though, it's not so much their offense. Their defense, though, is so impressive with Micah Parsons. Absolute machine, man. Just a Terminator on that D-line. Trevon Diggs, obviously, a playmaking ball hawk back there, too. Dolphins 6, Ravens 7. Then check this out. New York Jets and Seattle Seahawks 8 and 9, running out the top 10, just like we all predicted. Quick thoughts on the rankings here, Reg.
I don't really have many thoughts on it. Like I think, they're just pontificating and forecasting. I think it's nice to see the Vikings move up, after a win. They still kind of, I think it's indicative of what they believe about the Vikings not necessarily being there, because if you look at record, I don't see why you wouldn't put them number 2, but they still have them behind the Chiefs, the Bills, and you're like, well, maybe people still don't believe that they are as real as maybe they think that they are, or others, believe them to be, because, these other teams have 2 losses. Even after an ugly loss, to the Jets on Sunday, I would think that the Vikings would have leapfrogged the Bills, but people still, I guess, believe in the collective talent of these other teams. They've proven it, I guess, a little bit more than the Vikings. They're like, not yet.
If you were to tell me halfway through the season, the Bears were only 1 spot behind the Packers, the only possible conclusion I could have came to is, well, Bears must be having a heck of a season then. Not the case.
Yeah.
Packers 24th on the list. Bears right behind them at 25. Wolves played last night. They got the day off today, so we'll catch up with the Wolves tomorrow. Running a little short on time. We got time for one quick one in our Gimme One segment. Gimme one. Real quick here, Reg. Give me one phase of the Vikings team you've seen improve the most since the start of the season to now. Offense, defense, or special teams?
Has to be the defense, especially now that, they've gotten rolling a little bit with the edge department. They are meeting at the quarterback. Danielle Hunter, welcome back. 2 sacks on Sunday. That was impressive.
That was nice to see.
And they're playing complimentary football. Patrick Peterson is coming on. That defense is playing. Harry, 3 picks in the last 3 games. Like, it's kind of like a resurgent effort, because, there were a lot of games, especially earlier in the season, where people are like, man, I don't know how long this defense is going to hold up. Cam Dantzler goes out with an ankle injury. He missed the rest of the game. Caleb Evans comes in, balling. Cam Bynum is improving week after week. This team on defense looks much improved. They're like playing much more aggressive, more confident, and it's showing, because they, like I said, there were several drives on Sunday where they were just punt. We saw a lot of Tress Way on Sunday, and that was because the defense was absolutely balling, and they are improving week after week.
Ed Donatel just sitting at home by his fireplace reading his paper, just saying, I told you guys, man. I told you as a process, this is what the first month, 5, 6, 7 weeks looks like. Just trust the process. And sure enough, starting to see that, and all this is coming to fruition. Still haven't even seen Andrew Booth Jr., haven't really seen Brian Asamoah. All in all, too, just in general, I know Dalvin Tomlinson was out. I know Cam Dantzler went out early in that game. But all in all, the health of not just the defense, but the team has been outstanding. One of the better healthy teams in the league up to this point through these first 8 games. All right. That's a wrap today. Remember, like, rate, review, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join us every day for another episode with your 30-minute breakdown of everything Minnesota sports. We're a podcast too, free and available, all platforms. Subscribe. Drop us that 5-star review. Find us now streaming on your Roku or Amazon Fire Stick devices. Just look out for our Locked On Sports Minnesota app there as well. That's the man, Reggie Wilson, on Twitter, at Reggie Wilson TV. Check him out every night up on KARE 11. Special thanks to our producer, Matt DeBritz. Tune in tomorrow to Superior Sports Talk, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota. For Reggie, I'm Luke. Until tomorrow, signing out.
Be blessed. Spread love today.